Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Renu Tyagi from Sardar Patel Institute, Ahmedabad. Today we are going to talk about the module Regulation of Body Weight under the paper Physiology and Sports Anthropology. Let's have a look at the learning objectives of this module. This module will help us to develop an understanding about the concept of body weight regulation. We'll be able to know about the outcome of the body weight regulations. We'll try and understand the concept and the factors which affect the body weight regulation. We'll come to know about the genetic and the non-genetic factors which influence the body weight. Human body weight is the total body mass or weight of an individual. Rather, the study of the body weight of person helps in understanding the health risk of a person, whether he or she is underweight, overweight, normal weight, and obese category as per the BMI. So, after understanding these categories, a person can be classified in different categories. As overweight or obese is one of the major risk factors for various diseases such as the cardiovascular diseases, and the prime cause of it is the physical inactivity. As in the underweight category, it does not appear to be the same type of health problems that the underweight does, but it may cause certain other diseases related with the nervous or respiratory disturbances. Individuals who experience constant fluctuations may also be faced certain trouble of endocrine system, which plays a major role in controlling the metabolism. To keep away from all these factors which comes from being overweight or underweight, there is a need to understand the regulation of body weight. Now understand the concept of regulation of body weight. Basically, there are two components for the regulation of body weight, that is the number of calories that consumed and that are used up. If the calories consumed is more than calories burned up, weight gain usually results. The reverse is that the energy expenditure is more than the energy consumed, resulting in the weight loss. Although most people facing the problem of overweight, less people giving attention to the calories and diet habits which they consumed. Although the results usually for weight loss and further reduction in calories of food items containing fatty acids, it can be for a short period of time and usually not retained. Majority of the research in recent years has found that the best method for the weight loss is through a combined exercise and diet method for a relatively long period of time. Further, the mechanism involved in body weight regulation in humans include genetic, physiological and behavioral factors. Stability of the body weight and body composition requires that energy intake matches energy expenditure and that nutrient balance is achieved. Human obesity is usually associated with the high rates of energy expenditure. In adult individuals, protein and carbohydrate stores vary relatively little, whereas the adipose tissue mass may change markedly. A feedback regulatory loop with 3 distinct steps has been recently identified in the rodents. With the exception of few very rare cases, the majority of the obese human subjects have high plasma leptin level that are related to the size of their adipose tissue mass. However, the expected regulatory responses, that is reduction in food intake and increase in energy expenditure, are not observed in obese individuals. Therefore, obese humans are resilient to the effect of endogenous leptin despite unaltered hypothalamic leptin receptors. Whether defects in the leptin signaling cascade play a role in the development of human obesity is a field of great actual interest that needs further research. Present evidences suggest that genetic and environmental factors influence eating behavior of people prone to obesity, and that diet that are high in fat or energy dense undermine body weight regulation by promoting an overconsumption of energy relative to the need. Let's have a look at the outcome of body weight regulation. A vital factor in the regulation of body weight is physical activity. In our affluent society, there has been a marked decrease in physical activity, which contributes to the recent rise of obesity as a major health problem. Obesity is rarely found in the underdeveloped countries. Not just the lack of food, but also their increased amount of physical activity, especially without the modern convenience of our luxurious living, enable them to avoid obesity. The prevalence of overweight and obesity has increased steadily over the past 30 years. Currently, 50% of all adult Americans are considered overweight or obese. These numbers have serious public health implications. Excess weight is associated with the increased mortality and morbidity. It is associated with the cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, stroke, gallbladder diseases, osteoarthritis, sleep apnea, respiratory problem, and some types of cancer. As to get free from these deadly diseases, regulation of body weight is a most concerned topic from the challenging lifestyle of obese people. Most people who are trying to lose weight are not using the recommended combination of reducing caloric intake and increasing physical activity. Although over 70% of persons reported using each of the following strategies at least once in 4 years: increased exercise, decreased fat intake, reduced food amount, and reduced calories, the duration of any one of these behavior was a slow process. Even the most common behavior were used only 20% of the time. Obesity-related conditions are significantly improved with the modest weight loss program by physical activities and also with reducing calories intake as usual of 5% to 10%, even when many persons remain considerably overweight. The Institute of Medicine defined successful long-term weight loss as a 5% reduction in initial body weight that is maintained for at least 1 year. Interestingly, the most important factor that influences the selection of goal weights were appeared with the physical comfort rather than change in medical conditions or weight suggested by a doctor or a healthcare professional. Physical activity is a well-established key component of any weight loss program. Sufficient regular physical activity is crucial to prevent weight gain and successfully maintain weight loss. It is important for people to understand that the amount of physical activity needed to lose weight is usually higher than the recommended levels for health benefit. Emerging data from observational studies suggest that recreational physical activity after the diagnosis of breast cancer or colorectal cancer may confer significant protective effect, including reducing the risk of recurrence or death. Therapeutic physical activity regimens, that is walking and muscle strengthening exercises, also reduce pain and improve physical function in people with osteoarthritis of the knee. Successful weight loss depends on the correction of energy imbalance through increased energy expenditure from physical activity and change in food habits to reduce overall energy intake. Let's understand the outcome of body weight regulation. It is important to understand that a reduction in energy intake can be achieved through multiple strategies. Not simply by reducing the dietary fat. To reduce the energy intake is the key to reduce the consumption of energy-dense food which are high in fat content, high in sugar content, or high in the starch. And also the drinks which are high in the sugar content. And basically consume mainly low energy dense food like fruit and vegetables. Reduction of the energy intake is a key factor in weight loss, whereas the particular macronutrient composition of the diet for weight loss is still being identified. While much emphasis has been placed on very low carbohydrate diet for weight loss, their long-term safety and effect on weight are still doubtful. So after going through a smooth process of regulation of body weight, body, mind and spiritual can be maintained in a stable state. There will be the minimization of the health risk diseases due to the obesity or underweight if we go for a weight control. The vast knowledge of understanding about awareness of the obesity related diseases should be concerned to the respective nearby hospitals. Similarly, a person is in the health risk of obesity should go for a blood pressure checked and further make it better to involve in the weight loss program. Moreover, the responsible diseases of the obesity can be easily rooted out from the society if we know the measures which can regulate our body weight. This can bring up a society which can hope the healthy and well-seeded one. Now let's have a look at the contributors to the body weight regulation. Any attempt to self-regulate one's body weight takes place at the intersection of the external environment and innate biological predisposition that, especially when combined, can be highly conducive to energy surpluses and excessive fat mass accretion. Prominent examples of such factors are high availability of calorie-dense palatable foods, economical constraints that negatively influence the lifestyle choices, and the human predisposition for liking sweet and the fatty foods. As a consequence, it is no surprise that the majority of individuals have become overweight or obese, apparently losing control and succumbing to these external and internal obesogenic pressures. At the same time, it is known that behavior related to body weight regulation, namely physical activity and diet, are generally within the reach of voluntary control and regulation, as evidenced by the studies of successful weight loss maintainers who report dramatic change in their lifestyle despite being surrounded by seemingly obesogenic environments. These are some of the associated parameters of body weight regulation. Conversely, certain parameters can also help in regulating body weight efficiently and countering to their respective fields. Let's understand the genetic contributors to regulation of the body weight and metabolic efficiency. Genetic factors are also related to the maintenance of the body weight. The role of genetics in obesity is twofold. Studying the rare mutation in humans and model organisms provide fundamental insight into a complex physiological process and complements population-based studies that seek to reveal primary causes. Remarkable progress has been made on both fronts, and the pace of advances is likely to accelerate as functional genomics and the Human Genome Project expand and mature. Let's have a look at human obesity genes. Genetic determinants of inter-individual variation in obesity and related phenotypes are likely to be multiple and interacting with most single variants, producing only a moderate effect. To recognize such effects, a common approach is to measure multiple intermediate components where the effects of individual genes may be more apparent. For example, levels of leptin, percentage body fat or fat distribution, and test each of these phenotypes independently for co-segregation with polymorphic marker spaced at regular intervals throughout the genome. This approach casts a wider net, for example, for genes that control leptin independently of the body fat. It also has important practical implications as the ratio of visceral to the subcutaneous adiposity affects morbidity independent of overall BMI. Theoretically, genetic interactions can be recognized by testing for simultaneous association between multiple loci and the disease phenotype. But in practice, this approach is more easily applied to experiments based on inbred strains of mice. In either case, however, one quickly runs into the problem of multiple testing, that is, the likelihood that a specific association will exceed a nominal or pointwise significance level increase according to the number being tested. A common human obesity gene identified by linkage is especially convincing when replicated in an independent study. Results from 4 reported genome-wide linkage studies that examined obesity and or related intermediate traits have identified several loci that show positive evidence for the linkage. The application of genetics to understand and treat disorders of human body weight regulation has made remarkable progress in recent years. Another line of evidence supporting the role of genetics in body weight regulation come from the comparison of metabolic differences in individuals belonging to different ethnicities. In one study, a group of overweight women with average BMI of approximately 29 kg per meter square were kept on a low-calorie diet for a period of time until their BMI decreased to less than 25 kg per meter square, the defined upper range of what is considered normal weight. When these age, weight, and BMI matched, women were separated based on ethnicity. In this case, African American or white, differences in resting energy expenditure were apparent before and after weight loss. Though this study involved only a limited number of subjects, the results nevertheless suggest that individuals belonging to different ethnic groups differ in metabolic efficiency. Those with lower energy expenditure while maintaining the same body weight are more efficient and therefore more prone to weight gain. Interestingly, African American women had larger decrease in resting energy expenditure after weight loss, suggesting that they may be at higher risk to regain the lost weight. Let's understand the physiological contribution to the regulation of body weight. Physiological processes are responsible for the regulation of body weight. Different societies have different pattern of food habits, and it also helps in changing body composition. The activities performed by these people are quite related in changing its body physiological processes. In some societies, people tend to be physically active and food supplies are not limited. Few adults are either underweight or overweight despite a seasonal interaction of the work. Physiological mechanisms, which include biological processes, can be observed throughout the person's body. It is also believed that the body also exerts a strong defense against undernutrition and weight loss than it does against overconsumption and weight gain. The physiological mechanism responsible for the body weight regulation is incompletely understood. However, there is increasing evidence of a range of signaling mechanism within the intestine, the adipose tissue, and the brain, and perhaps within other tissues that sense the inflow of dietary nutrients, their distribution, and metabolism and their storage. These mechanisms are coordinated within the brain and leads to change in eating, in physical activity, and in body composition so that the body energy stores are maintained. Leptin hormone, which is secreted by adipocyte in proportion to their triglyceride stores and binds with receptor with the hypothalamus, provides insights into possible regulatory signal system that acts to maintain the energy balance. Body weight regulation may induce more individuals to become committed to making lasting lifestyle change to achieve and maintain a healthy weight. Understanding the physiology behind the regulation of body weight can help in treating individuals about health risk factors and educate obese patients for better lifestyle, which can help in living a healthy lifestyle. Let's study how physical activity plays an important role in body weight regulation. Regular vigorous exercise has been necessary for survival throughout the evolution. It is only during the past few decades that it has become possible for people to go through life with minimal physical activity. The modern way of living promotes comfort and well being in a less energy demanding environment. However, we are not genetically adapted for this sedentary lifestyle. Physical inactivity has become so prevalent that it is common to refer to exercise as having healthy benefits, even though the exercise trained state is the biological normal condition. It has long been known that regular physical activity induces multiple adaptation within skeletal muscles and the cardiorespiratory system, all of which providing positive outcomes for the prevention and treatment of many metabolic disorders. Lack of exercise should rather be perceived as abnormal and associated with numerous health risks. Physical exercise has been traditionally considered as a strategy to burn calories. However, physical exercise is much more than that. It is a stimulus that, when properly managed, contributes to a significant improvement in energy and macronutrient balance regulation and to global body functioning, that is, a precise regulation of body homeostasis. It thus seems appropriate to propose that an active lifestyle can influence the energy balance and body fat to a much greater extent than what is generally perceived by health professionals. To reach this outcome, exercise should ideally be performed regularly and on a permanent basis. Let's see the role of gonadal hormone on the regulation of body weight. Gonadal hormones have important effect on the behaviors that demonstrate body weight regulation. These effects are most evident in the female, where there are consistent, predictable changes in these behavior which are correlated with fluctuation in plasma hormone level during estrous cycles, puberty, pregnancy, or after gonadectomy and replacement therapy. Estradiol, which seems to be the principal ovarian steroid affecting body weight, may act directly on separate neural loci to inhibit food intake and to stimulate locomotor activity, possibly by lowering the set point of a hypothalamic lipostat. Estradiol does not affect eating and running in prepubertal female rats, perhaps because of the influence of pituitary hormone at this age. Ovarian hormones also alter the taste preference of the rats and may be responsible for change in self-selection of dietary components during different reproductive states. Let's see energy metabolism, fuel selection, and body weight regulation. Energy homeostasis is critical for the survival of species. Therefore, multiple and complex mechanisms have evolved in regulate energy intake and expenditure to maintain body weight. For weight maintenance, not only does energy intake have to match the energy expenditure, but also macronutrient intake must balance the macronutrient oxidation. However, this equilibrium seems to be particularly difficult to achieve in individuals with low fat oxidation, low energy expenditure, low sympathetic activity, or low level of spontaneous physical activity. Additionally, large variability in the weight change is observed when energy surplus is imposed experimentally or spontaneously. The data suggest a strong genetic influence on the body weight regulation, implying a normal physiology in the obesogenic environment. The carbohydrate balance may present the potential signal that regulates the energy homeostasis by impacting energy intake and body weight. Because of the small storage capacity for carbohydrate and its importance for metabolism in many tissues and organs, carbohydrate balance must be maintained at a given level. This drives for the balance may in turn cause increased energy intake when consuming a diet high in the fat and low in carbohydrate. And if sustained over time, such an increase in energy intake cannot be detected by available methods but may cause meaningful increase in body weight. For balanced body weight, it is necessary to burn up the fatty acids either by physical activity or exercise. Let's understand the self-regulation, the psychosocial factors in the body weight regulation. Any attempt to self-regulate one's body weight takes place at the intersection of external environment and innate biological predisposition that, especially when combined, can be highly conducive to energy surplus and excessive fat mass accretion. Prominent examples of such factors are high availability of calorie-dense, palatable foods, economical constraint that negatively influence lifestyle choices, and the human predisposition for liking sweet and fatty foods. As a consequence, it is no surprise that the majority of individuals have become overweight or obese, apparently losing control and succumbing to these external and internal obesogenic pressure. At the same time, it is known that behavior related to body weight regulation, namely physical activity and diet, are generally within the reach of voluntary control and regulation, as evidenced by the studies of successful weight loss maintainers who report dramatic change in their lifestyle despite being surrounded by the seemingly obesogenic environment. Various perspectives can be taken to address the obesity prevention and treatment. One is that obesity at a population level is largely caused by environmental factor and consequently it should primarily be tackled with the public health measures. Other views, informed by advances in molecular biology, tend to favor approaches rooted in the genetics of the obesity. Lately, intervention derived from applying principles of behavior economics have come forth with solutions based on the nudges and small changes in contextual default condition as they bypass individual volition biases and errors in the judgment. Environmental changes may be slow to implement but can be very expensive, is often stalled by the industry with competing interests, and can have unpredictable and even paradoxical outcome, all of which makes research in this area a formidable challenge. Further, social and economic condition will evolve and many people may move across different physical and cultural environment through the course of their lives, which could limit the efficacy of some environmental intervention. Therefore, it is crucial to improve existing strategies and develop new strategies that help better navigate obesogenic environment wherever and whenever they exist by maximizing their own self-regulatory resources. Let's see the role of lifestyle. Lifestyle, whether sedentary or active, has a clear influence on body weight. The rapid rise in the incidence of obesity in recent decade, with the percentage of overweight or obese adults reaching 66% in United States according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, cannot be attributed to genetics alone. However, results of many studies indicate that genetic factors do play an important role. In rare cases, obesity has been traced to mutation in single genes, and usually these genes code for the proteins involved in the regulation of satiety and food intake, such as leptin, the leptin receptors, pro-opiomelanocortin, and the melanocortin 4 receptor. Although these mutations have so far been attributed to only a few isolated families, the observation that virtually all the affected genes play a role in the neural control of satiety suggests food intake rather than metabolic efficiency act as a prime driver in body weight regulation. Now let's summarize the module. The vast majority of scientific evidences support a beneficial role of exercise for achieving a body weight stability and overall health. The goal is to find ways to motivate people to exercise and adopt healthy lifestyles. In order to achieve this objective, we must be innovative and creative in finding the ways to fight against the modern way of living that drives excess energy intake relative to the expenditure. Future research will be needed to give a better insight into the many issues which are impacting the physical activity level of the people, including the barrier to healthy active living. Furthermore, we need to pay particular attention to the disparities in physical activity practices because children with the disabilities and those from low socioeconomic status background are at a disadvantage. With experts around the world raising the alarm about consequences of escalating rates of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and different cardiovascular diseases, a concerned action including legislative measures to promote healthy, active living is required. Specifically, government intervention is needed to take the form of appropriate legal and fiscal measures designed to make the healthy choices more affordable for the people, besides making them more accessible and acceptable to the people. By doing so, we expect that the population as a whole will be healthier than now. The difference in energy efficiency of weight maintenance are most likely to play a role in the susceptibility to weight gain in our present environment. Unlike measurements of food intake, we have reasonably accurate and precise method to measure the energy metabolism among humans. Whether the precision is sufficient to detect the necessary small chronic imbalances leading to obesity is debatable, especially with a lack of means to measure the food intake. Uncovering the mechanism underlying the inter-subject variability in energy metabolism, expenditure and fuel partitioning will probably enhance our ability to identify the people at a higher risk for weight gain. As an example, recent investigations have provided evidences about differences in the skeletal muscles' efficiency to generate ATP as a function of training status or in response to weight perturbation. More research is needed to confirm these preliminary findings and to assess the impact on whole body energy efficiency and body weight regulation. Therefore, regulation of body weight involves complete signaling system and compensatory changes in the appetite and metabolic efficiency. Current evidences point to the existence of a set point that makes weight loss or gain progressively difficult. However, as with most biological systems, there is likely to be an upper and a lower limit for how much metabolic efficiency can change. As long as energy expenditure exceeds that of the energy intake, a decrease in the body weight must occur that can be stated with absolute certainty. Thank you.